People have been interested in the supernatural for a long time, and that includes the female ghosts that inhabit stories and haunted locations worldwide. They are among the most famous characters. These ghostly women stand out for their bright colours and ethereal nature. The shades of grey that lady ghosts wear are like a visual language that tells us about how they died, what they left undone, and how their presence in our world makes us feel. Understanding these coloured forms of ghosts helps us understand both the cultural meaning of ghost stories and the universal human feelings of loss, betrayal, and unfulfilled desire that these ghosts represent. Lady ghosts usually show up as see-through or partially solid female forms. They often wear the clothes they were wearing when they died, or clothes that were important to their lives on Earth. People say these ghosts are lovely but tragic, and their faces can be clear or difficult to see, depending on how strong their manifestation is and how intensely they feel about their unresolved issues. Lady ghosts are said to move with an otherworldly grace, as if they were gliding instead of walking. When they are around, people often feel a quick decline in temperature or an overwhelming sadness. The appearance of these spirits often reflects their final moments on Earth or their peak beauty, captured in a moment's time. Their faces usually show how they felt when they were still alive. Different cultures often associate the colours associated with female ghosts with concepts such as beauty, purity, sorrow, and retribution. For example, in European folklore, the White Lady is often shown wearing long, flowing white dresses that represent both her ethereal nature and her tragic past, which is often linked to unfulfilled love and social expectations, like marriage and motherhood. This ghost figure shows how colour can reflect how a woman feels about her identity and the stresses of society. Similar themes show up in Asian traditions. For example, the way ghosts like Orang from Korean folklore, Otsuyu from Japanese tales, and Nie Xiaoqian from Chinese mythology are portrayed is similar to the idea of beauty and tragedy being linked. These ghosts often symbolize the hopes and failures of women in a patriarchal society, illustrating how colors, typically white or shades of grey, signify their loss of social and personal identity. Lady ghosts act in very different ways, depending on what color they are and what they need to do. However, there are some trends that show up across all of their different forms. White ladies typically appear to be searching for something or someone, as their manner of movement suggests they are perpetually on the lookout for something that never materializes. Most people think they are harmless but deeply sad. When grey ladies haunt, they are usually more passive. They show up and then leave without talking to anyone. It appears as though they exist within their own temporal bubble, perceiving the living world only intermittently. The more intense forms, like red ladies, may interact with or even threaten people who are still alive, especially if they are there to seek revenge or justice for wrongs done to them. Many lady ghosts show up at set times or follow predictable routines. This suggests that their spiritual energy is linked to the events of their deaths or the rhythms of their previous lives. The White Lady is one of the most common ghosts in folklore around the world. Her pale dress is often used as a backdrop for stories about tragic love, terrible loss, childbirth, or harsh betrayal. These ghosts can be found in many places, from the White Lady of Hellfire Caves in England to the famous urban legend of Resurrection Mary in Chicago, who is said to have died on her way home from a dance. The white colour represents both lost innocence and the traditional Western association of white with death and grief, making it a powerful visual representation of lives that were sadly cut short. People often see them on the anniversary of their deaths or in places where they were happiest before tragedy. They are said to be looking for something or someone they lost in life. The White Lady is often shown as a white-clad ghost who is either sad about the death of a loved one or wants to seek revenge even for a wrong done. Many research projects on folklore have found that this ghost represents societal fears and cultural rules about femininity and death. In the Philippines, for example, urban tales about the White Lady reinforce gendered images in which men are the victims, which is a deeper social commentary on how men and women interact. This theme shows up in many different ways around the world. For example, in the United States, white ladies are often linked to love, betrayal, and ongoing conflict. It's a different kind of sadness that comes from the Grey Lady. Her soft voice shows deep grief and a sad past that won't go away. Libraries, old buildings, and historic homes often host these ghosts, providing peaceful spaces for contemplation. They seem to wander around in a sad mood all the time. The Grey Lady at Indiana's Willard Library is one of the best-known cases. She has been seen many times, and there are photos of her among the books. The color grey evokes the image of a spirit caught between two worlds, only partially present. This liminal state of unresolved grief keeps them from moving on peacefully to whatever lies beyond. In many different cultures, the Grey Lady has been a recurring theme. She often represents loss, grief, or ongoing conflict. Many cultures see the Grey Lady as having a sad past, usually one of betrayal or death that happened too soon. In legends about women like Lady Jane Grey, who was put to death by cruel political plots, the character's personality often ties in with larger themes of women's suffering and social expectations. In particular, the story of Jane Grey is similar to many other cultures' interpretations of ghostly figures. In these stories, the lady represents societal norms and a tragic end, which makes her an intriguing subject for studies of folklore and legend construction. Research shows that these stories about these kinds of figures are meant to teach moral lessons and make people feel sorry for the unfair treatment of women throughout history. The Black Lady is both mysterious and frightening, with her dark clothing often associated with death or unspeakable secrets. These cloaked figures can be found in castles and country houses across Europe. They are sometimes considered signs of death or bad luck for people who meet them. In contrast to the sad grey or white ladies, the Black Lady often comes with a warning or a shield, as if her darkness hides information that living things are not supposed to have. Her appearances are often scarier and less sympathetic than those of other lady ghosts. However, behind the scary exterior lies a story of deep injustice or betrayal that turned her into a defender of dark truths. Black Lady ghosts frequently symbolize complex emotions and mental distress. Researchers have found that these ghostly figures may represent a constant battle between traditional memory and modern identity. In literature, ghosts are often used as a metaphor for the severe mental discomfort experienced by the children and grandchildren of people who were traumatized in the past. The Blue Lady is a rare manifestation linked to unresolved feelings as cold and deep as the ocean. These ghosts, like the one at the Story Inn, have an ethereal quality that makes them different from other ghosts. They wear long blue dresses and their eyes look like they are glowing with magic. People have thought that the colour blue represents both the depth of unfulfilled desire and the coldness of death. This combination makes for a haunting mix that makes meetings with these spirits especially memorable. Blue ladies are rare in ghost stories, suggesting that the emotional conditions for their appearance are also rare. For example, the sad deaths that make other coloured manifestations more common may need a different set of circumstances. In ghost stories, the word Blue Lady is often used to refer to a ghostly figure, usually a woman dressed in blue, who is said to haunt places where she died or where certain events in her life happened. These stories share themes with Gothic literature, which is about loss, longing, and ghosts. These kinds of themes make you contemplate the human situation and the psychological aspects of being afraid of and sad about death. In writing, the idea of the uncanny often represents feelings of loss and longing, which can be seen in modern stories as well. In folklore, these spirits remain stationary, aligning with the concept of emotional attachment to locations and recollections. This idea suggests that social fears and ideas shape how the living and the dead interact. The Green Lady usually comes from stories about noble women who were betrayed or killed, and their green gowns will always remind people that they were the victims of romantic or courtly deception. The famous Green Lady of Château de Brissac in France is a prime example of this type of ghost. The castle's old rooms echo her story of adultery and violent revenge. Real life often associates the colour green with feelings of envy and jealousy. In death, the colour green may also symbolise the toxicity of the betrayal these women experienced, or the way their anger prevents them from moving on. It seems like these ghosts often show up in places where they used to be wealthy and prestigious, as if their high-class status in life confers on them a stronger presence after death. They would rather not give up their claim to the places where they used to rule. Scholars who study ghosts say that these ghostly figures often represent more than just supernatural events. They stand for traumatic events in society and unfinished histories. Ghosts in modern culture are things that people remember badly and that represent the unfinished histories that affect both individuals and groups. This link between ghosts and memories is important for understanding characters like the Green Lady, who can represent wrongs done in the past or mental scars that women carry with them. The Red Lady channels the strongest feelings and often shows up as a spirit of revenge that is driven by the circumstances of a violent or passionate death. In Asian folklore, characters like the Lady in Red are common. In their stories, people often drown or die because of strong love, betrayal, or anger. The colour red is a visual symbol of blood, violence, and the spirit's strong desire for revenge or justice, which keeps them from finding peace. Unlike other lady ghosts, who are usually sad or mysterious, the Red Lady often actively chases the living. Her appearance isn't just a passive haunting, it's an active force that wants to solve problems through conflict or revenge. It's possible for the Red Lady archetype to represent bigger wrongs in history, especially when it comes to themes of displacement and pain. Stories where the ghost is a woman who has been wronged often show how society has been betrayed and how we all feel sadness as a group. The idea of hauntology supports this view by showing how the past can still affect our worries in the present and how unsolved traumas can haunt communities. People who were forced to move, or who suffered because of problems in their family or society, are often portrayed in ghost stories as symbols of unsolved traumas from the past. Many theories attempt to explain the existence of coloured lady ghosts and their specific colour forms. Psychological theories say that witnesses project their cultural expectations onto vague sensory experiences. They see shadowy figures through the lens of well-known folklore and assign them colours based on what they see and how they feel. Paranormal experts think that the colours are made up of different frequencies of spiritual energy. They also think that each colour represents a different emotional state or cause of death that leaves its mark on reality. The portrayal of these individuals can also incorporate feminist ideas that critique past exclusion. By looking at how women are presented in ghost stories, especially Victorian ones, we can see how these stories reflect or go against societal ideas about what it means to be a woman, what is right and wrong, and who has power. Lady ghost stories have effects on more than just scary stories. They can change literature, art, tourism, and even the mental health of the people who live in places where these stories start. Many people visit historic places that are known for having famous lady ghosts. Such behaviour turns tragedy into a form of cultural heritage that brings in money and keeps historical stories alive. In supernatural legends, the colours of lady ghosts are more than just differences in how things look. They are part of a complex system of symbols that turns tragic events, unfair treatment, and emotional turmoil into memorable visual metaphors. Each chromatic form, from the sad white lady to the angry red lady, has its story weight and emotional resonance, representing both individual stories and larger cultural patterns in how people confront death and remember the dead. These ghostly figures are a warning that the past never really goes away. It stays with us in our memories, taking on forms that make us feel our deepest fears and emotions.